Buongiorno a tutti, benvenuti.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Matteo Bordone, and Achimga asked me to be the master of ceremony for this streaming roadshow. So, welcome, everyone. We're going to talk about Achimga's activities and the activities promoted by its members. And the first country we'll be visiting this week is Turkey, and next week we're going to be in the UK, and then in December in Egypt, and then Algeria. We got together in June with a Print for All factory event, which was a very large event with international attendees, and over 1,300 people participated to that event. We're here today to discuss hot topics such as Industry 4.0 and sustainability with regard to the printing industry. So we have approximately 150 attendees today for this Turkish roadshow, and I'm going to start by pronouncing the only word that I know in Turkish, teşekkür ederim, for all those who signed up and connected with this streaming roadshow. We have a lot of guests today. We have a full panel of Italian and Turkish guests. We're going to kick off with the institutional address, and I would like to leave the floor to Mr. Riccardo Landi, director at Istanbul-based ICE. Good morning, and thanks very much, Mr. Bordone. I'm very pleased to inaugurate this event, which is part of the promotional program sponsored by the Italian government in collaboration with Achimga, the Italian Manufacturers Association for Graphic Converting and Paper Industry, and the Institute for Foreign Trade. I would also like to acknowledge the collaboration of the Istanbul-based Chamber of Commerce, which will participate in mainstreaming information about this event to our Turkish attendees. We also have with us Massimo Gaiani, Italian ambassador in Ankara. We have a lot of speakers today, and they will provide additional information about the subject matter today, and the chair of Achimga, Mr. Briganti, will talk us through. We're going to have also a roundtable discussion with the participation of leading Turkish and Italian companies. So without further ado, I would like to leave the floor to Ambassador Gaiani for his opening address. And I thank you all. Thank you very much, Mr. Landi. Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank all the attendees to today's meeting. I would like to warmly greet and thank Mr. Briganti, Chair of Achimga, the Association of Graphic Converting and Paper Industry in Italy, and Achimga is the partner of this association. I would like to thank Mr. Israfil Kuralai, Vice President of the Istanbul Chamber of Commerce, and I would like to thank all of the Turkish attendees, and also to the representatives of the converting industry today. So we really value your participation to today's event. Furthermore, I would like to thank Riccardo Landi, Director of ICE in Istanbul, for having organized this interesting webinar about the topic of Industry 4.0 and sustainability. The topics on the slate today are very, very important, and I don't want to detract time to the debate. So, in the interest of time, I would like to keep it short, and I would like to focus on three key aspects. First of all, we are all aware of the fact that we're living in difficult times. This webinar is a telltale example of how we can still continue promoting our business despite the current healthcare emergency. Today's problems force us to come up with creative solutions in order to bridge the gap caused by the lack of physical and in-person events. And so I would like to reiterate one more time that Italian institutions are committed in promoting these get-togethers via digital platforms, and I hope that we will be able to collaborate even more with Istanbul Chamber of Commerce to promote this further. I really appreciate today's topic, that is to say, Industry 4.0 and sustainability, especially in light of current events. Competitiveness will derive more and more from innovation and from cutting-edge research. Sustainability is indeed the main challenge that this generation shall tackle, and Italy is in the forefront, considering also the forthcoming G20 presidency round and also COP26. We are also very committed at European level so that Europe can become the leading entity in this process. We intend to work in a close-knit fashion with Turkey. We believe that, in fact, Turkey is a key partner to us. Our economies and manufacturing systems are strongly intertwined, and so we're called upon to pursue a common challenge in order to hit ambitious targets to the benefit of overall sustainability. Lastly, and this is the third point on the agenda, well, we're very well aware of the importance of Industry 4.0 that describes growing trends towards automation and data exchange, as well as digitalization in the manufacturing industry. To this end, Italy sits at the forefront when it comes to high technology machinery investing and also industrial automation solutions. I would like to emphasize the fact that most of our exports to Turkey is represented by technologically advanced machines and goods that are essential to the Turkish economy as well. So our collaboration has a mutual benefit for both parties. So it is beneficial for Italy and it also very beneficial for the Turkish industry in order for them to be more competitive in the international scenario. So we're really happy to be able to contribute to Turkey's production capabilities, and we think that our bilateral relationships have always been successful, also in light of this mutual benefit. So in a nutshell, these were the topics that I wanted to address with you today. Once again, let me thank you, the organizers of this fantastic event, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the morning. And I've heard some facts and figures regarding attendance, so it is indeed a very valuable initiative. So thanks very much indeed, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the event. Well, thank you very much, Ambassador. Thanks very much for this opening address, and thanks very much for focusing on the highlights about the relationship existing between Italy and Turkey. Then I would like to leave the floor to a very important partner for this event, which is Mr. Israfil Kuralai, Vice President at the Istanbul Chamber of Commerce.
Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Saygıdeğer büyükelçi.
Well, good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you all. I would like to thank your Excellence Ambassador Gayani, dear guests. Thank you very much. I would like to wish you all the best for this webinar. All the industry representatives are here today, and we will have a very fruitful exchange of ideas, experiences, and knowledge. Turkey and Italy, as a matter of fact,
çok çeşitli
have always been valuable partners to each other.
ve güvene dayalı olması dikkat çekiyor. En büyük ticari ortağımız olan Avrupa Birliği ülkeler arasında
They have entailed, in fact, a close-knit relationship in many domains.
ticari ilişkide ithalat ve
Italy
ihracat dengesinin bulunması da ayrıca
ranks second amongst the other European countries when it comes to partnering with Turkey.
karşılıklı ithalat ve ihracat
In 2019, the exchanges between the two entities was of about $29 billion, and now Turkey seems to have reached a positive of $675 million. We would like actually to increase this level, going from $18 billion to $30 billion.
olduğunu hepimiz görüyoruz.
And this with regards to export and import figures. This is not difficult at all because we would like to pursue an equitable and win-win relationship.
İki ekonomi birbirine çok daha iyi
I think that what matters most is a promotion, the
teknoloji seviyesi
recognition of
sanayinin ulaştığı
each economy, and the two economies should look at each other with a much more receptive set of eyes.
hala istenen
We need to
yakalayamamış olmamız
get a better understanding about our marketing and production capabilities, technological levels, and the potential reach by the 4.0 industry, which should be better researched and promoted. In fact, if we manage to sort of bridge this gap, we will be able to pursue strong partnerships. We all know that this pandemic has caused great damage in every walks of life. The damage to the economy is enormous, and we will certainly
için güç
face a major loss in our balance sheets. So we need to join forces in order to overcome this situation and to curb damage and to open up new horizons. And I believe that this meeting will be very fruitful in many ways. We need to achieve sustainable growth in foreign trade. And of course, both geographies have advantages. Italy represents the entry door to the European Union, while Turkey is the entry door to the Middle East. And let us remind ourselves that Turkish is the main actor of the historical Silk Road. Of course, we need to reveal the economic and geostrategic importance of Istanbul. Rome and Istanbul are two important cities where historical crossroads meet. So historical commercial routes intersect. These roads are still used very actively today. Although there have been many shifts over time, these routes haven't changed. Investments in strategic sectors such as aviation, infrastructure, automotive, agriculture, banking and defense, as well as in many other areas, we will greatly contribute to the welfare of both countries. The Istanbul Chamber of Commerce, together with our 600,000 members, are up for the game. And we say yes to all sorts of collaborations. We are ready and we stand ready.
Sektör cirosu ve ülke ekonomisine sağladığı katma değer de
The number of our members increase a year in, a year out. The printing and publishing industry is very active, very dynamic in our country, and it grows steadily. In 2018, we've hit $3.6 billion in terms of industry turnover, an increase by 14% in 2019. If we look at the figures for import and exports by Turkey and to Turkey in 2019, well, we have reached about $110 million, and Italy ranks second with $5.6 million. If you look at exports, we've reached $124 million, and Italy ranks 22nd, featuring $1.1 million. It is not possible to state that these numbers are satisfactory, though.
2019 yılında
With regards to imports and exports in our country, we see that in 2019, we reached an increase by 2.5% compared to the previous year, and we've hit a figure of $4.7 billion in total. Italy ranks fifth with $192.6 million. If we look at Turkey's import figures for this industry, in 2019, a total of $2.9 billion was reached in terms of imports, with a decrease by, say, 11.6% compared to the previous year. Italy ranks third in this ranking, featuring $263 million. So the industry has a strong potential for growth, and we think there are valuable opportunities lying ahead of us. It is very important to open up comprehensive cooperation channels, and I sincerely hope that our meeting will open up new horizons and lead to new investments, collaborations and partnerships. I would like to thank our esteemed speakers and sector representatives who will attend to this meeting today. I would also like to express my gratitude to Acimga, to the Italian Manufacturing Association for Graphic Converting and Paper Industry. I would like to thank ICE, and also I would like to thank the ITA as well. And I greet you with respect and thank you very much.
Molte grazie, signor Vicepresidente Kuralai.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Thanks very much for your kind words, because this is evidence of an important strategic partnership between Italy and Turkey moving forward. So this event is evidence of the fact there is indeed a fruitful space for growth, and it's sort of a springboard that will project us into a common, mutually beneficial future. I would like to leave the floor to Mr. Bordone for the rest of the panel. Thank you.
Grazie mille a voi, grazie a Riccardo.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the director of ICE and the ambassador, and Israfil Kuralai, vice president of the Istanbul Chamber of Commerce. So we can start our discussion, and before giving the floor to Acimga's representatives, looking very much forward to talking to their Turkish counterparts. Of course, sharing a common sector, the printing press world. So let me give the floor to Andrea Briganti, the representative of Acimga, the general manager of Acimga. So he will provide us the Acimga's point of view and talking a little bit about this event. Good morning, Andrea. You are the host here, so I give you the floor. Thank you, Matteo. And good morning, everyone. Let me thank the previous speakers, the representatives of the public institutions, both Italian and Turkish institutions, and the representative of the Chamber of Commerce in Istanbul. I want to thank them, and I'm very happy to have this opportunity to discuss and to transfer knowledge between our manufacturing systems, which have been partnering for so long in the past. And I think that this collaboration should very much continue in the future. This event, this webinar that we devised this year, in this very particular difficult year, we thought about how we could continue to provide services both in Italy and abroad. Therefore, we organized a series of events starting in March with a preview on Rotogravia, and then we continued with an event in June with over 3,000 participants, and then again an event on Rotogravia at the end of October. And today we're here with a new series of webinars in the European and Mediterranean area, because we believe that these countries are very important for development. They have a very strong development rate, and we also think that it is very important that we develop the partnership with Italian manufacturers. So we want to guarantee a promotional follow-up, a marketing follow-up with companies which are part of ACIMGA. Now, ACIMGA is an association representing manufacturers in the printing industry, any kind of technology. Some technologies such as flexo printing, rotogravure are very much based in Italy. We have a strong tradition in Italy for these kinds of printing, for digital printing, and ACIMGA represents them all. It also represents all conversion, the conversion sector. They are traditionally the leaders for manufacturing in this area, and they also are active in the labeling industry, in the packaging industry, all the applications. ACIMGA is part of Federazione Cartografica. We are in our third year. We are among the founding members, Association of Printers and Converters, Italian converters. ACIMGA really believes in partnerships, so much so that very much based on the model of Confindustria, we have a vertical structure, vertical organization to make it easier to transfer information and knowledge, because the true advantage of the Cartografica industry association is to be able to work on the whole supply chain on these important topics, which are the knowledge that we make available to companies, sustainability, and Industry 4.0. We are aware that sustainability is a must today and is going to be very much so in the future because of the social impact of the pandemic. So much attention by corporations will be paid to the three dynamics of sustainability, namely the environmental, social, and economic aspects. Of course, any private companies aims at economic sustainability, but the other two will be part of corporate life. And we, as an aggregator, as an association, as we are doing very practically today, and again, I want to stress the whole system, Italian system, the ambassador, Mr. Landi, because in this way, we have developed an advocacy system which is very interesting, in my opinion, not only about the communication of products, but also the discussion about key topics. Manufacturing systems should focus on these two aspects: sustainability, Industry 4.0, remote control of data, transfer of knowledge, possibility of working on data, of data processing, and making it more efficient, of streamlining it. Industry 4.0 somehow can act as a tool to increase sustainability, also linked with manufacturing efficiency, reducing waste, batch-based production based on demand, so customer-based, and indications provided by the whole supply chain. So this is the reason why today not only manufacturers, technology manufacturers are gathered here, but also brand owners and all representatives stakeholders who have an impact on the 4.0 sustainability decisions. Today, we need to talk about corporate communication, about a brand positioning, about corporate strategic positioning on these dynamics. We cannot talk about products, only products anymore. We need to talk about ergonomics, about performance, metric performance, which are of course key for manufacturing processes, but we need to talk also about, and this is what we are doing together with the institutions in order to build a systemic process. We need to focus on the three topics that companies need to focus on. And let me remind you that the manufacturing system and corporate system are also linked with approaches of the emergency, the pandemic management, because it is by controlling, managing environments that we can manage also the pandemic. So these they need to focus not just on their financial results, but also on these three key topics. So I would now like to give the floor to Matteo, back to you for the introduction of the roundtable discussion. Thank you, Andrea Briganti, General Manager of Acimga. So let's start with some practical experiences. So we will listen to the different point of views of Italian manufacturers, Turkish manufacturers, and we will have the opportunity to listen to these two sides of the partnership. Let's start with a company that's been active since 1960, Simec, active in Lombardy or Giatolona, not far from Milan, and the other plant is in Montesino in Abruzzo on the Adriatic coast. They have been operating since 1960. They have a turnover of 18 billion euro and they produce 12,000 rolls per year. Simec, since we're talking about sustainability in Industry 4.0, was pinpointed as the best in class by the Federazione Cartografica. So as an example of interpretation of the 4.0 industry. So Sara Besnati from CIMIC, I welcome her and I thank her for joining us. And my question is how CIMIC has interpreted 4.0. Thank you, Matteo. Good morning, everyone. 4.0 industry for CIMIC means SDB, CIMIC digital background. So we will talk about codes, data, supply chain integration, new forms of communication, and new approaches to the market. With our digital team, we wondered how we could talk about this by being faithful to our innovation mission. And so very shortly, Nicola Della Torre, in charge of digital marketing, will describe CIMIC Group as DB World, and he will introduce to the people who are in charge of our system of this project. So I would like to give the floor to You will now listen to and see a video. We were born in 1960, and we have evolved since. So we work together all around the world with our roles and our sleeves. And of course, these products are accompanied with solutions in order to make them loss-longing and to increase their life cycle. But at some point, we wondered, how can we transfer to our partners, to our smart partners, our experiences, our expertise and mistakes too. So we decided to focus on digitization, because by digitizing our processes, we developed our own way of making business to be always present. SDB stands for CIMIC Digital Background. It is a system, a comprehensive system for our supply chain. Thanks to 4.0, it was re-engineered and automized to improve each single step of the production. We developed an ERP database, allowing us to localize every step in our supply chain, to be closer to customers and to know the issues before they arise. We need to consider data. We need to talk how data are gathered and how our data are managed, and how they are combined, because by doing this, we can anticipate needs and to adapt our warehouses to customers' needs. We also need to talk about factories automation and coding. Together, we were able to codify everything: rollers, machinery, NERS, and engravings. We also need to consider traceability, tracing back the product, real-time tracing of the rolls life cycle, since its manufacturing and engraving processes, its maintenance, and so on. So this is part of CIMIC Digital Background. But this should not be only a theoretical speculation and data management, but should be translated into benefits for customers. What kind of benefits? For instance, the reduction and the selection of analog rolls, or the reusability of the rolls, and the possibility for our customers to draw from our predictive warehouses and to have off-the-shelf delivery of products. Data management is important, product customization, and performance analysis. These make up the pillars of SDB. Our production manufacturing revolves around them. Data allowed us to move from a traditional reactive management based on each customer's demands on a totally new system, a proactive management based on aggregated customers' needs and not on a single customer's needs. So this is our SDB world, and we want to welcome to this world. In order to manage data, we map out our customers. By gathering information, we're able to provide a specific offer to satisfy customers' needs. So we can provide roles with in terms of to satisfy customers' needs in terms of quantity and quality. So our products are engineered around customers' needs, and based upon what they need to produce, they are tested and codified. So they are always available to customers. We're also able to reduce normal risks linked to analog selection, relevant costs, and provisioning time. We are also satisfied the needs of each plant in terms of the building shafts, protection from corrosion, specific of ceramic filming, and also finishing according to the doctoring system. This translates into the reduction of score and line and cost, a reduction of corrosion risk, higher density, and faster cleaning times of the rolls, and a longer life cycle. For each analog, so we keep trace of all significant events from its manufacturing to its end of life. How the roll performed, the average length of each life cycle. We see whether we're in line with the statistics. So in this case, it is the factories themselves who gather the information and transfer this to CIMEC, and they record all the information when they send the rolls to us for the restoration. How do we go about that? By codifying all our productive processes. How was this available? How this system continues to evolve in a continuous way? Of course, thanks to our partnerships among stakeholders. Today, brand cooperation seems to be guided by marketing considerations. It seems that everything is dictated by the price, the cooperation with this or that company, and not so much the desire to solve issues. This is why this community was developed, to gather all stakeholders around the supply chain, providers, suppliers, printers, machine users, and so on. If if all producers, manufacturers communicate with each other, we can provide the best package to the customer. Now, to sum up, the target of the goal of the community is not so much the price that will lead transactions, but the whole package, making the whole supply available to customers.
Molto bene, abbiamo avuto il racconto
Very well.
dell'interpretazione dell'industria.
Well, thanks very much for sharing this video about the CIMEC's interpretation of Industry 4.0. I would like now to introduce another Italian guest. It's a long-lived company. It was set up in 1963, OMET, 500 employees all over the world, 8 production plants and 4 subsidiaries in China, India, Spain, 130 million euro worth of turnover. And here with us today we have OMET's export area manager, Mr. Sergio Villa. Good morning. Good morning to you. So, what is the green side of printing according to OMET? Well, with pleasure. Good morning, everyone. Thanks very much, Matteo, for your kind introduction. I would like to greet all the participants, and I would like to say good night and marhaba. A couple of words about myself. My name is Sergio Villa. I have been working at OMET for the past 17 years, since 2003, and I specialized in trade with Turkey. So considering the excellent relationships existing between Italy and Turkey, and also some analogies regarding our lifestyles, I would like to personally express my deepest feelings about the tragic events that happened in Izmir. So my heart goes out to you. Right, so I'm going to upload my presentation now, and I think we can get started straight away. This is our motto: innovation with passion, and it wasn't actually randomly chosen, but it was chosen by design, because the growth of the company since 1963 has leveraged on the power of innovation, has leveraged on new products and new performance. The facts and figures you indicated, Matteo, about our turnover derive precisely from this kind of approach to innovation. I'd like to talk about market areas briefly and our presence on a global scale. These are some of the tangible assets of our company. We have the Italian market, of course, the European market, including Turkey, unquestionably. And you see that these figures are quite sizable, so much so that Omid positions itself as a market leader in Turkey as well, especially between 2003 2013. So we have accumulated approximately 10 machines every year installed in Turkey. We have machines in Reykjavik, Iceland. We have machines in Cape Town, South Africa. So our presence is really spanning the whole world. Facts and figures obviously speak for themselves. And I just wanted to give you an idea about the scope of our partnerships and our customer base. On the right-hand side on this slide, you see some reputable names that are very renowned in the printing industry. On the left-hand side, there is also a Turkish company, Hayat, which is a market-leading company. And this is just a way to describe the type of relationships that we have with different partners. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of our presentation about Omet and Omet's technologies. 15 years ago, our company started designing products differently. So well before Greta Thunberg strikes for the future of our planet. And if we think about the current COVID-19 pandemic, we would all concur in saying that either we've gone too fast or perhaps we have been running the wrong race. So Omet has been working on these very topics for the past 15 years, also in terms of cost containment strategies that positively reverberate on our clients and printers. The presentation that I would like to share with you pertains to Omet's printing machines, but it wants to meet a broader purpose and encompass the entire industry. Okay, so Omet has been working in the narrow and mid-web machinery industry, mostly for adhesive labels. And we know that the current standard encompasses the use of UV inks. However, we have developed flexo machines and roto printing machines also for water-based inks and solvent-based inks. These machines can be standalone modules, or they can actually combine the various printing methods in one single line. Let's have a look at the main benefits resulting from that. Well, first of all, the cost of inks, printing speed, so the printing rate, and in case of water-based printing, There is no need for oxidizers or solvent abatement units. Label Expo Europe, based in Brussels as of 2019, saw Omid printing with water-based ink some rotogravure prints, and this happened on the occasion of the trade fair in 2019, and that was a first in printing industry. So we were sort of born for tissue paper, very thin, 16 grams per square meter, and we can actually convert, transform, and process this paper at a rate of 700 meters per minute. So we borrowed this experience from the tissue universe and then translated onto the printing universe somehow. And thanks to adequate pressure controls, we can use hard to process materials that are obviously recyclable materials. In the event of flexo or rotho printing, water-based printing, we can actually have a recirculation mechanism for hot air, which implies cost containment strategies. And we can also do that with solvent-based printing. Last but not least, one of the latest news promoted by Omid, and this happened at Label Expo of last year, the saver feature for the core foil. So whenever we can reuse the same foil, we can maximize our production throughput and maximize the use of raw materials. So a couple of slides ago, I hinted at flexo solutions. Alongside the traditional mercury-based UV technique, some years back, we have equipped our machines also with UV LED dryers, and this has delivered multiple advantages, and I just wanted to list out a few benefits to the benefit of our listeners. Well, first of all, instant on-off of the plant. Then the lamp life, which is 10 times longer compared to traditional setups. Whereas traditional UV LEDs last for, so UV lasts for 2000 hours, LEDs instead have a life cycle of 20,000 hours. And when it comes to traditional lamps, we have to replace the entire light bulb, whereas when it comes to LEDs, we can simply replace individual diodes. If we look at the performance of the machine, well, again, we have an on-off mechanism there, which prevents the technology from getting obsolete, and there is no standby cost. So you pay per use, basically, and this translates into significant cost reductions. A few minutes ago, I was emphasizing Omid's commitment to the green side of printing, and we started out 15 years ago in 2007. Omid, for the first time, introduced on the occasion of the European-based Label Expo fair, so back in 2007, introduced the X6 model by Omid, which was a revolutionary machine, thanks to some technical tweaks that were then patented by Omid. And we managed to have a lower web length And as a result of that, material waste was lower, and this is more environment friendly, and the machine itself turned out to be even more responsive. In addition to that, we decided to introduce a few smart systems called vision systems, and these are new multi-head systems in order to reduce waste, bypassing operator support. So, in other words, thanks to this technology, the machine will obtain the same results in terms of waste reduction, regardless of the skill set and competency of the printer, of the operator himself. This is my last slide, but I think that it is equally valuable, and I'm sure that some of our partners will touch upon this subject matter later. This is the typical example of a reputable and solid partnership and positive results thereof. This is a project that encompassed some Italian companies, and it was recently awarded with a prize. It's called Linerless Solution, or CLS, where the liner, through a special process, becomes a top laminating film. So in the reel, in the final label reel with the same diameter, we will have many more labels, so fewer waste products, to the benefit of the environmental footprint, storage, transportation, warehousing, etc. This technology is extremely useful, and let me say it was a smart technology because it didn't change completely the manufacturing process, whereby some of the staple processes remained the same, but it used new materials and new processes. And so I would like to thank you very much for your attention, and teşekkür ederim. And I am at your complete disposal for any questions you might have. So you can even drop me an email if you like. Feel free to get in touch with me. So I'd be glad to take any questions. So thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Omet, che ci ha raccontato e ci ha descritto il Green Side of Printing secondo.
Thank you very much, Sergio Villa, for describing the OMET world. I remind you that if you want to ask any questions, you can write to conference and printforall.it, and you will have an answer to your question. So now we move to another experience by a company which is part of the solid economic boom of the Italian history. This company was set up in the 50s, and it's called Ferrarini and Benelli, providing facilities for the corona treatment. We have Claudia Benelli, the general manager of Ferrarini Benelli. Welcome to this discussion. And we will listen to special features of Benelli's work. And my first question is about the corona treatment. What is the corona treatment about? Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I want to greet our Turkish partners, and all the attendees. The corona treatment is a surface treatment performed on plastic films those that are used for flexible packaging. This treatment is used to increase the surface tension and therefore improve the ink anchorage on flexo printing, on roto printing, on offset roll-to-roll printing, and also in filming processes and pairing processes. This is a system made up of a high power generator, a transformer, and electrode group performing a high tension voltage power. These are used on extrusion and pairing in order to activate surface, because each ink or adhesive has its own tension. Therefore, they need that the surface has a surface tension, as a greater surface tension, in order to be anchored in properly. You see here the difference between a treated and untreated film. And so the risk that ink doesn't adhere properly to the surface. So this is what the corona treatment is about. So from the point of view of ink anchorage, this is a key process. One of the key topics and part of Acimga's activity is sustainability, of course. What is the link between the corona treatment and sustainability? All materials are treated within the extrusion process in order to reach that surface tension level which is needed for the optimal printing process. Unfortunately, between the extrusion and the converting phases, with the passing of time, there's a risk of a decay of the surface treatment because substances may run out of the material. So the risk is that when you are the matching of the pairing phase or the printing phase, you have an adequate level of tension of surface tension. Therefore, printing doesn't come out properly, and there is also a risk of having to discard material, of waste products. So in order to avoid waste in the first place, which are difficult to dispose of course, and they pose a sustainability issue, and it is also rather expensive, by the way, you can perform a corona treatment in line with printing and pairing. So in order to go back to the optimal surface tension and to avoid waste and waste material. Another important point is that all kind of materials can be reactivated in this way, materials which might have lost their surface tension level. You see some examples here. So all materials which are stocked and they lost value can be recovered, and therefore waste is reduced. In view of sustainability and reducing polluting agents, it is also important to stress that inks have been developed with no solvents, water-based inks, UV-based, as our colleague was said earlier, and then solvent-based inks and water-based inks. This transition was based on the need to reduce emissions and costs. So, as you see, these kinds of inks are more difficult to be anchored to the plastic surface. Why? Because they have a higher active tension. Therefore, they need to be treated, and they need a higher plastic film tension. So again, the corona treatment can help, because if it is correctly downsized, it can improve the film surface tension up to the needed level to perform optimal ink anchorage for these kinds of adhesive inks, which are greener but require higher surface levels, tension levels, as you can see here on the slide. So again, the corona treatment helps to walk on a greener path for those companies wishing to use these green inks. So the corona treatment was awarded a prize by Lombardy region within the call for tender called Innovation and Research Hub, and you were involved in the iLabel project, the smart and sustainable label. Can you say a few words about that? Of course, this is a practical example of how this is an important part for optimizing the whole process and to make it more sustainable. I'm talking about label production, of course. Ferrarini and Benelli is one of the partners, together with Ritrama, producing adhesives, Omet, as my colleague Sergio Villas said earlier, VDG Lab, ILTI, and IIT, the Italian Institute for Technology. We are all involved in this project, and we made our competence available for this iLabel project that, as you said, was awarded a prize by the Lombardy region within this call for tender for research and innovation. iLabel, on the one hand, aims at manufacturing an eco-sustainable label because it is made of waste material, discarded material, and on the other side, it aims at producing smart labels. These labels provide information which are not available to consumers presently, for instance, tracing back the origins of the product or providing evidence of whether the product, the packaging was opened or not. As for the sustainable label, it aims at reducing the environmental impact of packaging by acting on the label printing process and packaging process. And therefore, the ultimate goal is to provide a sustainable label. The corona treatment is involved in this process because it improves the anchorage, the printing anchorage on the labels, and also the anchorage of adhesives in the foiling process. It is indeed implemented in line with the foiling process. The core line solution, Ritrama, is an adhesive label much thinner than the labels available on the market. It does away with the silicone films used so far, and thanks to this process, the label is made up of a polypropylene layer, much thinner one, and a smart liner, multifunctional liner in polyester and silicone. And thanks to a converting process, it is detached from the material that is used for producing labels and is placed on top of the label itself. So it is incorporated, it is part of the label, providing a protection to the printed side and therefore reducing, avoiding waste, polluting waste, which is not easy to dispose of. The silicone-based paper, the volumes of material is very much reduced, of waste materials is reduced, and also the waste, the volume of the products themselves is reduced, so it is easier to transport them and so on. This is an example of how an accessory such as labels is important because, as we said at the beginning of this webinar, it is an eco-sustainable product is developed through the cooperation of the whole supply chain. It is not just one single company making this possible, but a joint venture of all companies operating in the supply chain, enabling to reach this result. Thank you.
Well, let's introduce another Italian example, this time nearby Como, not that far away from Malpensa airport. Now, carbon technologies in the air processing industry, the possibility of recovering solvents. Again, it was set up in 1920s, actually, who created the first plant for solvent recovery, and then history unfolded. So I would like to greet the Managing Director at Now Carbon Technologies, Mr. Giuseppe Dell'Acqua. Welcome, and take it away. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks very much for this fruitful opportunity to introduce to the converters and the attendees listening to us our technologies for the processing and treatment of organic volatile compounds. And it is this history, the story, sorry, is about 100 years old, and these technologies are very popular nowadays on a global scale. And the use of these technologies is mostly applied to the green industry in order to improve one's own environmental footprint. So, as the previous panelist stated, well, we have to keep an eye on production and manufacturing, but we also have to keep an eye on solvents that are used quite significantly, and the handling and disposal thereof. So in some countries of the world, like in the United States, they're oxidated, burned, and turned into CO2. So we're going from a problem of volatile compounds into the creation of greenhouse gases. We instead are proposing a different approach that leverages on economic sustainability thanks to cost containment strategies. So I would like to share with you a very short introduction about our company. Let's see if I can share my presentation with you.
Diciamo che fino
Solvent recovery technologies. Up until a few years ago, our plants were mostly large setups for big converters, having from 5 to 10 printing machines, roto printers, and also flexo printing and foiling plants as well. We've developed a new air treatment mechanism that makes it possible to
in aziende medio-piccole e quindi
adapt these technologies and to be used in order for them to be used by smaller plants, by smaller companies, so smaller size converters. So we really want to cater to the needs of small and medium enterprises. So the message that goes out to you is this. So we want to indeed protect the environment, contribute to cost savings by eliminating solvent emissions and by stopping the purchase of solvents, obviously. And at times there are excess sales together with inks. Solvents are sold because they're used for dilution purposes. So this strategy fulfills a dual purpose. We want to recover solvents, first of all, to protect our environment. Cost reduction is a valuable goal, obviously, that we always have to strive towards. And the pandemic, for that matter, has caused a reduction in consumption. So since production cannot be expanded in the very short term, we have to work on the front of containing costs for converters that manufacture flexible packaging solutions. This positively reverberates on transportation sustainability because we will eliminate solvent transportation from a production site to manufacturing sites. And since they are collected at the source, we won't need to use lorries to drive them from point A to point B. The quality of the solvent that is recovered is comparable to the new solvent. So the quality grading is comparable to that of a brand new solvent. So whenever superior quality is needed, just be assured that the quality of the solvent recovered will match that. Another important aspect is the pricing policy of solvents at market level. Solvents are subjected to price volatility, which depends from the market demand and offer. And obviously, pricing experiences peaks and valleys resulting from oil-related issues. And this might actually complicate planning, especially in the converters industry. Having a fixed price makes it possible for converters to have a constant production cost, hence calculating a precise production margin and obviously being in a position to offer clients an affordable price. And this also positively echoes on the use of raw materials. So we are fully complying with the concept of circular economy. That is to say, the possibility of using products literally forever within the manufacturing cycle. Let's look at the solvents that are most commonly used in the flexo and roto printing. Well, we have water-soluble solvents, and here we see some ethyl acetate and propyl acetate, methoxy propanol and alcohols and all types of ketones. So these are some of the most frequent ones. So let's have a look at the typical printing process that we are turning to. So we're talking about rotor printers, 1.2, 1.4 in terms of depth and 60,000 meters per hour. So
hanno diversi elementi stabili.
and they have different printing elements for that matter, in fact. So 6, 8, 10 color combinations, and
necessita che l'inchiostro venga diluito per poterlo trasferire sul film. Una volta che ha fatto il suo
so the ink is diluted,
viene espulso,
then it is exhausted. So we have exhaust cleaned air emissions, solvents evaporates when it comes into contact with air. Instead of storing it into nano greenhouses or other, or for example, applying heat treatment solutions, which then will generate water and CO2, so greenhouse gases. We use these active core plants. These are giant tanks that contain 10, 20 tons of active coal, which is an absorbing substance, and it actually captures all organic matter from the solvent, and it exhausts clean air into the atmosphere with a maximum of 50 milligrams, so almost nothing. So just fancy that typically the range is 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 mgs. So you see that this is the limit we set according to the best available technologies. So F50 mmgs, and we are in the range of 10 to 20. So we're much lower than that. So basically, this is exhaust cleaned air emission. And we could even stop the core loop and the closed loop, sorry, and reuse the very same air supply. When the active coals is saturated, we use an inert gas, nitrogen gas actually, which is heated up with oil, and then there is a distillation phase, and we have high boiling waste storage. Alcohols and ethyl acetate instead are reused for diluting inks. And again, we have 100% circular economy. This is an example of how solvents are fed into the distillation unit, and these are the solvents that are mostly used for flexo printers or roto printers. And you see that these solvents, this raw solvent is fed into a distillation unit. The distillation unit separates the high boiling substances from low boiling substances. And you see alcohols here, for example, and these are recovered in order to be reused, and also water that is absorbed by printing processes. So the water element that is recovered is sorted through a molecular sieve, and the 1% content of water in the raw solvent goes down to 0%. From there, it goes into a pressure distillation column. It generates a 50-50 nitrogen ratio between water and ethyl acetate, and nitrogen, water go to the third column, which it could be pressurized. nitrogen then goes back with water to the ethyl acetate column. Inaudible, I'm sorry. So we have two products that we can use and two products that we can sell because we are recovering solvents that are necessary for ink dilution purposes, but also solvents that are present in inks in a pre-admixed formulation. This is the ex-CSI unit we've developed. It's compact, but it takes on a modular setup, 125,000 cubic meters, which is the scope of a roto printing machine with several colors. It can be expanded on actually without changing the regeneration unit and all the utilities that are connected to it. It is a modular system, and in the next slide you'll see how it is assembled. You see the different modules and the different units. They are delivered with wiring and cabling, and it's ready to be installed. You see the filters up there. So the installation, compared to the plant that you saw on the cover page, requires a short installation time, and they are already equipped with inbuilt services. You see the boiler here, you see a chiller for cooling purposes. And the cooling process is a water-based cooling process, and then we have water collection in order to eliminate Legionella issues. So this is a closed circuit, and we can sort of bypass some of these problems because we use air most of the times in order to avoid all of these issues. And besides, water, it comes in short supply nowadays, and so we have to be very considerate of water supplies. And you see that these plants and these machines are positioned on a concrete platform. And so you see the active coal absorbing units, they are modular ones, and they operate under vacuum, so no pollution there. We have emission trapping systems, and I'd like to share with you some examples. This is an Ethiopia-based plant. Ethiopia is one of the poorest countries in Africa, and they don't have problems related to pollutant exhaust gases. So given that they can reuse solvents, they don't need to purchase them from Europe, and they don't have to actually transport it to Addis Ababa for printing purposes. So this is a closed circuit, and besides, they have no regulatory issues or emission issues. And this is another example of circular economy. It's a very interesting example, I believe. It's a modular system, it's a modular infrastructure, and we can actually hit several cubic meters. Sorry, Mr. Dell'Acqua, but I'm going to ask you to wrap it up because we have a lot of panelists on our agenda. Yes, this was meant to be an example to show you like savings worth 2 to 3 million euros. In the last year, despite the pandemic, we sold 6 plants, similarly to 2019, so 12 solvent recovery plants in 2 years, 3 of them in Turkey. So we have excellent relationships with our Turkish colleagues, and so I thank you very much for your attention. Thanks very much for bearing with me. I'd be glad to take any questions. Thank you.
So again, if you have questions, you can send the questions directly to me or to the association. Thank you. So I thank both speakers, and I now give the floor to the other side of the Mediterranean, talking partners on the other side of the Mediterranean. And so the Turkish industry. I apologize for the wrong pronunciation of the names and surnames of the participants, Mr. Mehmet Develioğlu and Burak Ambalaj and Ernan Erken Ambalaj. Good morning and welcome. My question to you, first Develioğlu and then Erken, to tell us about the the points of strength of the Turkish market.
Teşekkür ederim.
First of all, let me thank you. I want to thank everyone, the organizers of this conference, of this meeting, of this excellent meeting. We have partners with which we work and we develop solutions. And I represent one such company. I am a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and so I represent this industry today. The packaging industry is very wide. It involves so many different aspects, issues. All the stakeholders in this industry use Italian technologies. The 4.0 industry, therefore, will be an opportunity for further collaboration among us. Turkey has a particular geopolitical position. Therefore, Turkey is a sort of bridge with other partners, and our industry is very well developed, and we are in the position to do so. We are made up of subsectors. We try to use technology at its best. Again, I see so many companies, Italian companies represented here, already using breakthrough technologies. However, I was very interested in listening to the previous panelists, and the sector is made up of small and medium enterprises and even micro enterprises, all using the technologies that were mentioned earlier. But the medium and larger companies try to grow, but they act in a vacuum, so to speak, because there's a difference between Italian structures and organizations and the Far East organizations. Of course, there are also political issues involved. And the fact that we have the opportunity to share our opinions and our ideas here is so important. It is also fundamental that the Turkish partners can take the floor, can talk about competition and the industry 4.0, try to develop a broad outlook of the situation. We need to consider, of course, technology, but funding as well, of course. And there are so many issues that we have to deal with. We listen to the representatives of Italian companies saying that we are partners in search for solutions. I'm aware of low-cost funding available in Europe, and I think that if funding will be made easier to obtain, for sure we will grow together. As I said, this industry is varied. There are stakeholders willing to innovate, to invest. Turkish investors as well are trying to develop relationships with the world. So you see that the path was traced somehow. And I think that our Italian friends should develop their knowledge of Turkey. They should try to improve, to increase investments so that we can walk this path together. So this is my answer to your question. I try to be as brief as possible. If you have any other question, I will be pleased to answer, of course. Of course, as I said, we are running behind schedule, and we have so many panelists, and so many Turkish representatives among our panelists today. Thank you and good morning, everyone. I must say that there are so many important things to say, and my colleague mentioned some of them. As for packaging, you have the laminating phases, you have the rotor printing. For instance, we have 6 rotor printers, and then we have our laminating machinery. Some brands come to my mind, of course, working with us on a daily basis. And I want to stress how important they are. As my colleague said, there is a financial issue here. There is a funding issue. We are healthy as an industry, and this is the health of our industry is very close to our heart, of course. But we also rely on providers from the Far East. So we need to make sure that our production is sustainable. We need to reduce pollution, to save money. And I think that the potential offered by Italian machinery is certainly higher and important. I believe that Italians should make a further effort to get to know our country and our industry better. So we should increase cooperation. They should be more sensitive to the issue of financing, for instance. So once again, I want to thank you for your attention and your time. So again, this is a very important occasion for dialogue. So please be brief, as your colleagues have been. So we are now have the converters and printers on the Turkish market. And my question are, what are the opportunities in the printing, packaging and converting industry? So we can start with Mr. Ahmet Karademirli from İkmat Offset, a printer. Good morning and welcome. Please be brief.
Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Bu toplantıyı tertip eden herkese
Well, I would like to thank all the organizers.
bizim matbaacılar
It was very interesting. It has been very, very interesting so far. We work in the printing industry. We are printers and we work for the publishing industry.
Bu konuda İtalyan matbaalarla da bazen görüşmelerimiz ve alışverişlerimiz oluyor.
Sometimes we also
Amerikan firmalarının hem bizde hem de İtalya'da
collaborate with Italian printing companies, sometimes with American printing companies. There are American companies that print in Italy. Maybe you didn't know that.
Bu anlamda İtalyan matbaacılarla bir işbirliği.
So we're responsible for the printing process, and then there are other vendors who are responsible for specializing in other processes. What I can say, though, is that our technologies are very similar to one another. The printing technologies are Japanese in style and approach. And I know also that as far as Italy is concerned, there are outstanding machines, very, very cutting edge technologies. But allow me to add a few words. Italian machines, unfortunately, aren't that present in Turkey. We have a lot of German machines, a lot of Japanese machines, and we wish to have more Italian machines, more Italian printers, and maybe after the printing stage. So after the printing stage, Italians are much more present. The quality standards are very, very high. Many companies develop top quality machineries, and I know that. And 80% of our production is exported.
Ondan sonra Amerika geliyor. Amerika'dan sonra da Orta Asya vesaire derken
and we export to the European Union, we export to the United States. And this 80% I mentioned are exports of domestic products. So again, I repeat, we mostly export to the EU and the USA. We print books also. For all those working in the printing companies, all those who are dealing with packaging and other solutions, well, there is untapped potential. And this potential is not so high to reach the export domain, or perhaps we haven't gotten there yet, but still there is untapped potential in the packaging industry as well. So I would like to thank you for your attention and for giving me the floor, and I really wish for fruitful future partnerships. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Karademir. From IMAC Offset, I would like to leave the floor to Mukahit Hildiz, Vice President of Tibet.
Ditemi qualcosa, c'è?
Evet, şu an buradayım. Kapatır mısın? Sesim geliyor mu?
Yes, good morning. I'm not sure whether you can hear me, the speaker is saying. Well, the interpreters have a hard time hearing the speaker since he's apparently not using a microphone.
Bir aile şirketiyiz, bir şirketler topluluğuyuz.
Well,
Yaklaşık
I will
şu an
try
20'ye
then
yakın şirketimiz
to
var.
say a
Ve
few
75
words,
yıllık
says
bir
the
grubuz.
speaker.
Ben de ailede şu an 3. kuşağı temsil ediyorum.
We have approximately 20
Sektör
companies
olarak
in Turkey,
hızlı
and
tüketim
I'm here to represent
sektöründeyiz.
our industry.
Burada 500'e yakın barkodumuz var çeşitli kategorilerde. Gıda kategorisi, temizlik kategorisi, kozmetik kategorisi.
We have approximately 500 SKUs in our production cycle. We work in the cosmetics and body care industry as well. We are market leaders in many of these areas for many reputable brands. We export our production, and we also have some manufacturing plants in Turkmenistan. We also work in the packaging industry. We use different methodologies and different processes, and for that matter, we have a fully fledged range of machines. We've recently opened up a subsidiary in the United States. So we have a very broad outreach, and we are present in many countries. I'm here with you today to represent the cosmetics industry, which accounts for $2 billion in terms of turnover. And there are approximately 3,000 manufacturers, 1,500 pharmacies, and a lot of retail shops. So all these stakeholders represent a very varied industry. So we manufacture, we export a lot of our products, and most of these products bear a precise brand. They could be signature products, and we also manufacture private label products. So big corps turn to us for help, and so we strive to work together in order to boost production. If we look at Turkey in general, and if we look at this industry in particular, if we look at the printing industry and printing companies, well, there are a lot of actors. The quality standards is tremendous. It's very, very high. So we are not struggling from the production side. However, if we look at the Italian manufacturers, I think that our partnership is really essential, because I think that our partnerships can really boost our potential. There are times when demand is skyrocketing, so partnerships are to be entered into. So there are sizable opportunities that can be captured. Collaboration is indeed very valuable, so much so that we've already seen fantastic examples in the cosmetic industry, and I can mention several names to that. Flormar, for example, was very successful, and we managed to have manufacturing plants all over the world, and we also exported some of that production. We do have the skill set, we do have quality standards, and I hope that we can actually consolidate that at best. Well, thanks very much to Mukahit Hildiz, Vice President of Tibet. And again, we are running terribly late. I apologize. So I would kindly invite you to be as brief as possible, and let's shift gear. And I would like to ask the next panelist to tell us about the contribution that Industry 4.0 can give to the printing industry in Turkey, especially And I'm turning my question to Mr. Akif Taklizu, editor, Matbaa Teknik.
Sorunuz için teşekkür ederim.
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, for your question. There are several things that were said that are really important for the 4.0 industry. There is what we want is to move on automation by using automation in our industry. This so much should be said about this, but today I will limit to saying that we need to also consider recycling. If we look at the report by the Ministry for Economics, you have metals, you have glass, you have wood, different materials and components. So packaging must be important in terms of sustainability. But if we consider this term innocence, can we really talk about innocent materials? Now, looking at this report, we see that there are 450,000 packaging producers, but 40% of packaging in Turkey is made up of plastics. And in terms of exports, the situation is the same. Again, according to the ministry, in 2019, plastics ranked first in terms of exports, 60%. And then you have paper and cardboard packaging ranking second. So apart from plastics, except from plastics, all the other packaging materials can be returned to the natural environment, of course, if they do not contain other composite materials. So this is the core of the issue. Let's suppose that all packaging materials are biodegradable. In theory, it would be possible to recycle all of them. Well, in plastics, it can also be recycled. We have a zero waste project in Turkey, stating that, showing that not all materials are, not all plastics is the same, and therefore not all plastics can be recycled and recovered in the same way. This means that shampoo bottles or containers, for instance, PVC containers and bottle caps and so on, these cannot be recycled. But then you have plastics that can be recycled 2 or 3 times at best. So but the issue is not so much recycling, because recycled paper should be recycled material, plastics should be biodegradable. In Turkey, we recorded 2 million tons of waste, plastic waste, and a large amount was of general waste, and a large amount, over 800,000 tons, were made of plastics. According to Greenpeace, 9% of plastics produced since 1950 has been recycled. Indeed, biodegradable and eco-compatible plastics is produced from starch, for instance, issued from agriculture, and therefore competing with food production. So you see, there are so many reasons why the raw material, plastics as raw material, is vital for many packaging, but for some packaging, paper, cardboard, and glass packaging, these packaging would be much more sustainable than plastics. Of course, there are many examples of this. Let me mention just one. There is a famous alcoholic beverage manufacturer which has developed a paper-based bottle. So we need to support use of glass, paper, and cardboard for packaging. I know it sounds like a challenge, but let me give you an idea of packaging industry in Turkey. Of course, packaging helps us to close the gap for current accounts. In 2019, exports exceeded $4.7 billion. We recorded $2.9 billion of exported plastics. Then you have paper, cardboard, followed by metal and glass and wood. In 2020, according to the Istanbul Union of Exporters, paper exports will increase as compared to 2019. And this growing trend will continue in the future. Italy ranks 4th in packaging material exports in 2019. We had $2.9 million imports of this material, whereas Italy is the 3rd country we import from. Germany, China, and Italy ranks 3rd. So in terms of packaging, machinery, converters, I think that Turkey can become Italy's best customer. And I see that this is as testified by by figures. And I think that Italians should focus on Turkey and on the Turkish market. Thank you for inviting me. I think that this panel is very fruitful for us all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Akif. And I now give the floor from another company. I'm very sorry, but we have to. We're running very late, so I apologize. It was a very pleasant discussion, and some speakers took longer than foreseen. So, Dr. Abnik, please, Mr. Abnik, please be brief and sum up your thoughts about how innovation can help the printing industry in Turkey. Thank you.
Herkese merhabalar.
Good morning. I represent the printing industry with my company. We are talking today about the 4.0 industry. So much has been said so far, and I don't want to repeat the main concepts, but let me add the following on the 4.0 industry. 4.0 provided great contribution to our sector. Thanks to this, companies can identify potential issues, and all the systems are integrated so that issues can be anticipated and machines don't stay idle. So when you need to replace a part, a machinery part, this system allows us to save time. I think that the Italian and Turkish cultures are quite close. I think it's easy to develop warm relationships among our people. I see that Italy can boast quality in their productions, and they might consider developing partnerships in Turkey, for instance, to produce some parts and components in Turkey. we are Mediterranean countries, and the fact that we can operate in a warm environment, I think, should be the foundation for a good partnership. So thank you so much and for inviting me.
Grazie mille per la rapidità, è molto apprezzata. Allora chiedo quasi un saluto, un farsi vedere, poi troveremo
thank you very much indeed for being brief.
a questo nostro incontro altri
So
modi per parlarci. Chiedo
I
a
apologize,
Munir
but we're
Üstün
really
di
running late. So
Profil
I
Kitap
would
di
like
rapidamente
Mr. Munir
parlare
Üstün
veramente per un minuto,
from
perché poi deve parlare
Profil
anche
Kitap to
Emrah
just
Kisakurek
speak for 1 minute, because then we're going to have Mr. Emrah
Yayındari.
Kisakurek from
Yayındari, chiedo
Buyundogu
scusa, e
Yahindari,
poi ci salutiamo.
and then
Prego,
we'll
Munir
just
Üstün.
wrap it up, please.
Se c'è.
Grazie Matteo.
Well, thanks very much. Thanks very much, Matteo.
Doğru mu söylüyorum bilmiyorum ama buongiorno a tutti.
Well, I hope I pronounced the grazie in proper Italian. Good morning, everyone. I deal with publishing, printing, and I've been in business for the past 32 years. I sit on the board of administrators of our Chamber of Commerce. I represent our federation, etc. So we work in the sort of creative part of the bell curve somehow. You talked about machines, we talked about printing methods, and so on and so forth. We also heard about cosmetics, for example. However, our niche is very peculiar. We deal with books and editorials. We decided to print a book in Italian by writer Eri De Luca. And we will be able to print other books in the forthcoming years. The publishing industry in Turkey is very well developed. In 2010, 204,000 books have been printed out. In 2015, 285,000. We have hit 400,000 up to 700,000 books over the years. Last year, 425,000 books were printed. So there has been a steady growth over the years, and the industry is very active, very dynamic. Our youngsters read a lot, especially during the lockdown and during the pandemic. We've seen a steady increase in the sales of books. When things will go back to normal, hopefully in June or July, the bookstores and perhaps librarians will sell less and less, and we need to be there for them and support them. For that matter, we've launched a discount campaign to boost the sales. We've tried to revive the industry in many different ways, and we've done some interesting things, and I'm confident we can make it. Well, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. So 1 minute, again, apologies to Mr. Emrah Kisakurek. And then we're going to have to wrap it up. 1 minute. Well, good morning, everyone. I also work in the publishing industry.
E-kitap çözümü yapan ve dünyanın her tarafına bu vesileyle kitap gönderen.
We've recently entered into a partnership for ebooks. We are collaborating with an Italian company, and hopefully we will keep up the good work. And that's it. Thank you for listening. Well, very appreciated. Thank you very much. So I would like to thank all the attendees, our foreign guests. Teşekkür ederim, grazie mille. I would like to hand it over to Andrea Briganti for a final message. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for this fruitful contribution. And I'm thankful for this delay because it means that the debate has been very participated, if you will. So I think that this was the first event, and I think it was a successful event. Turkey was the first country of this roadshow. Others will follow. So let me thank all the attendees. Stick around, stay with us for the next appointments we have. Well, the idea is to create an international community leveraging on these topics, and our members are part of it, and Acimga is the main partner. So we're going to see each other in March next year on the occasion of the international conference, and also on the occasion of Print for All, which was shifted to 2022. And so I'm sure you're very familiar with this event because we've had excellent attendance from Turkey. Once again, grazie and thanks very much. See you soon. So we'll see you November 18th, next Wednesday, for the next country, which will be the United Kingdom. Thank you very much, everyone.